Well, thanks, Curt, for doing this with me. I'm excited you're running for the presidency. I did not expect this. This is the presidency of the Doctors of British Columbia. Um, yeah, many people, they actually run away from health systems leadership. They run away from the idea of the presidency, uh, because the president always gets blamed for things and it just feels like a really hard position. Um, I think it would be a thankless job, really. So, what is your motivation for running for the presidency this time?
Well, I think it's an important job. I think that uh, the role of the president is uh, it's a forward facing role. You're the face and the voice of the organization. But I think it's also an opportunity to bring in other people, other voices, and to try and make sure that that physician voice generally is heard. And it's far more important, I think, that the physician voice is heard and not just a physician's voice is heard. So,
Mm.
this is also a logical sequence for me with some of the other stuff I've done. I was chief of staff for the west coast of the island, so that was West Coast General Hospital and primary care on the island. I was president of BC Anesthesiologists. Um, I've been senior physician lead for PQI for 10 years now. And in all of those roles, it's always been about enabling other people to be able to do their best. And I think that's the role that I want to uh, see myself take as president.
Thanks, Curt. I don't think many people know all the things that you've done. I've been excited to have been able to watch some of the amazing things you've done around the PQI program. The PQI program, I think, started around in 2015 or so, with your leadership, really around the thought leadership of it. And then I think you ran the first cohort in 2016. Is that right?
Well, I started in 2014, and it took me most of that year to work through some of the issues. So we started up with a committee to kind of form the idea. We went to the executive, um, so the CEO and VP Med, and they were supportive, which was really good. We went to IT, and again, very supportive. And so that gave us the ability to go ahead. But this was the first in the province. So making sure everyone was comfortable with what we were doing, that we were transparent, and that the process we were putting in place wasn't going to blindside anyone, because that's not the way to make friends. So
Yeah.
it took most of a year to get that all set up. And then we ran the first cohort. We started April 1st, 2015, and that was cohort one. Now I think in Fraser, we're up to cohort 10,
12.
12.
12. Yeah, 12. Yeah, I was just at day three of number 12 recently. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's only been 9 years.
And it's amazing that it has developed as it has, because it really is about empowering individuals to do the work that they need to do. Give them the tools, give them the access to the data, give them the access to the processes, the administrators, all working together, and it's been a very big culture change for those that are involved.
Yeah.
And we've involved well over 1,000 people. I think I don't remember what the numbers are, but we've involved a lot of people that now know how to engage with the system. And then moving up now into president of Doctors of BC, I'm looking to see if we can get more people engaged.
Yeah. I sitting in cohort two, I think it must have been 2016 with you as the facilitator for PQI, which is physician quality improvement. You facilitated a lot of classroom learning with kind of workshop style where we could kind of practice different uh, like different tools in the science of improvement for various projects that we cared about as learners. So for mine, it was stuff around patient experience on the hospital wards. And what was really unique about that training was that it was the first time I was in a classroom setting in person with different specialists that I had referred to before, but I'd never had gotten a chance to meet them before. And I was also really surprised to have patient partners, patient voices in the classroom with me at the same time. That was a shock. That was very different from the typical healthcare learning culture that we'd had before.
And we did a couple of things there that is now a mainstay of what we do. But right from day one, we had two patient partners, and they were full partners. So one of the patient partners used to joke that her first day when she came to class to meet us, I handed her 4 textbooks. Well, that's because she was a full partner. She was equal to the physicians. She was a teacher. She knew a lot. She didn't know how to do open heart surgery, but I can't either. I can give an anesthetic for it, but I'm not the surgeon. So we each have our skills to bring to bear, our perspectives, and we are so much richer for sharing those perspectives and coming up with solutions and working through problems with all of those perspectives in place. And I think that's one of the things that's so missing in our system right now. So we see, the mandate letters come down, the premier to the minister, the minister to the health authorities. The health authorities then take and try and figure out how to make it happen. And as doctors, we're on the front line. We know how important this is. And most of the mandate letters, I don't think anyone's going to argue that those are important issues. But what's missing is the operationalization of it. How do you take that good idea, take it down onto the ground, have it work without messing up 3 or 4 other things? And that's where we need to engage with the ministry, with administration, and with each other to really start to move the needle on some of these problems. A lot of these problems took decades to build, and so they've become very complex. We've got decades of half solutions to them, and so we've got this big spaghetti of problems that are now intertwined with each other. So trying to create a real solution to that really takes a lot of thought, a lot of working together, a lot of different perspectives to identify the real problems, the root causes of things, and how to address them without causing more problems.
Yeah. Without without your without your leadership, I don't know if I would have ever even realized that there was a mandate letter. Many of us clinicians, I'm a family doctor, so we work in our silos and we don't realize that there are some very clear priorities that the ministry has, and that they write mandate letters that have to go to each health authority to kind of guide the work that has to happen. So thank you for that. You mentioned the big mess of spaghetti of all these different complex problems in our health system woven together. What do you think is the biggest problem in BC healthcare, if there could be one, the biggest problem, or top
Well,
two, or whatever?
I think there's definitely a biggest one, and the biggest one is how we silo things, so that you can't fix the system. You can do a little bit of local optimization, which is not going to fix the system. We need to break down the silos. We need to work across the silos And especially we need to be able to collaborate on this and and stop the sort of the hierarchy that that results in someone who doesn't know how to do my job telling me how to do my job. Right.
Wow.
I work in the operating system. Operating systems, it's a very complex machine, if you like. But it's also one of the areas in the hospital that I think demonstrates teamwork the best. If the operating room is functioning as it should. A dysfunctional operating room is just a horror show. So it's getting all of those voices in together, working together, using the mandate letter as part of what we do to align our direction with where the health authority is going. Because as I said, those mandate letters are so general that there's nothing there to argue with. Do we want better cancer care? Well, yes, we do. Do we want to reduce wait lists? I don't think anyone's going to object to that. Where we run into trouble is the how, and we can help with that.
Thanks, Curt. You just shared how that you've worked in many OR teams. You have decades of experience working in teams, and I've watched you work in teams for the past 8-9 years now. And you taught me a lot about like consensus decision making on kind of how to define it as a team and how to come about it and how to really take time with the discussions in order to make sure that a good decision is made. And just want to thank you for that. That's not something I learned elsewhere. So I
Well,
appreciate that.
consensus decision making is difficult, and it's particularly difficult in a hierarchical system. There's times to use it, and there's times not to use it. If I'm running a code, we're not doing consensus. This is life and death. It has to happen. Bang, bang, bang. But I don't think I can think of any examples where working with consensus didn't result in better decisions than majority vote or something like that. And the other thing that consensus allows you to do is it allows you to let the broad representation happen without having to worry about who has the most voting power, because everyone is an equal on that team.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of concerns at the tables I sit at of, oh, who's going to have more power? Is this particular party going to have more power when we invite them to the table? How do we strategically limit the power that each party can get? But as you described with consensus decision making, it may take more time, but if it's properly facilitated, it's not really it's less about the power dynamics than about like adequate, what would you say, co-creation of a solution?
Well, co-creation, but making sure that all of those perspectives have fed into the solution, so that you're not creating three problems when you're trying to solve one. Because there should be someone at the table that's going to say, well, hey, if you do that, this is going to happen, right? And by having those people at the table, you get to find out before it starts to, cost you in terms of money, time, patient care. All of those things. Slow down to go fast is one of the things that we hear.
Yeah.
And this decision making is it's a little slower, not always, but it can be a little slower.
I've noticed that you've never been afraid of sitting with anybody at a table, sitting with patients who can hold a lot of pain or trauma from the healthcare system, sitting with other physicians, sitting with politicians, ministers, leaders, maybe even a premier. You haven't shied away from that. And some people would get intimidated in those situations. And I've appreciated that. What is something, like, as you embark on this journey, what is something that you wish patients knew more about when it comes to health systems? What is something that you wish patients knew about?
Well, I wish they knew that the system was there for them, but I don't think it is. Um, so we need to fix that. But I think too, what the patients, I don't think they know how how much power they have, and as you mentioned earlier, one of the things we did in PQI is we've had patient partners all the way along. And so the patient's involvement in that is very powerful in a couple of ways. One is it keeps things focused on what's important, and that's what the patient receives. It also gives us that perspective. I think as an older physician, I've been a patient too, but I've been a very bad one. Yeah, I think typically doctors and nurses are very bad patients. So having a real patient there is very different from having a doctor there that knows how to pull the strings. So that's important. Also, patients are voters, and ultimately that's where the power lies. And so that's important for them to know. The other thing is, often patients assume that that a service is there for them without knowing, and it's a reasonable assumption, but they don't find out the reality of it until they need the service. And so I think trying to engage patients before they are disappointed is really important. And so going back into our communities and engaging, and with things like PQI and some of the projects we've done, bringing those patients in, showing them the system. The system shouldn't be opaque; it should be transparent. But showing to them and showing them that they can make a difference in it, I think is one of the ways to get them involved in it before they find out what the gaps are.
Yeah, yeah, getting the patients involved early in designing the services. That's going to take quite a few years, but I agree. I think it's the right way to go.
But also not just the patients, but the community. Okay, future patients, if you like.
Yeah. What is it that you think that you wish that the general physician body knew? Like all the other Doctors of BC members, what's one thing that you wish that they knew?
Um, so if you look at our history over the past 20, 30 years, we've given up a lot of power. We've I think gotten so frustrated with the system that we've backed away from it. And I really would like them to know how important it is that that they re-engage with that system. That their perspective is important. One of the other things we've seen is we've seen a lot of burnout, right? And so there's been a lot of talk about resiliency, about how to address that. Well, I think physicians are amongst the most resilient people that I've ever seen. We've survived internship, right? Or residency. We've survived the MCATs. We've survived so many things that that people get very stressed out about. We are very resilient. What we need to exercise that resilience less. We need to fix the system so it doesn't stress us. It's not about being able to handle more stress. It's about having less stress to handle.
That really resonates. I love that because when we redesign the system to be less frustrating for us, we can sustain ourselves and deliver better care. That makes so much sense.
Well, we know how to sustain ourselves. We've survived to this point. We know how to do that. We just need to do it less.
we could we could free up more capacity in ourselves if we redesign the system to be better. But a lot of us lose hope. A lot of us lose hope that better is possible, and there's a learned helplessness situation going on sometimes
And I
when we
think
feel really.
I think that's one of the main um, the main side benefits of PQI is we've taught people how to engage, that engaging is worthwhile, and that by engaging, you take ownership of your life again. You take ownership of your practice. You start to solve those problems that have been stressing you out, and by doing that, everyone gains. So our stress level goes down, our burnout goes down, our patients get better care, the system works better. There's the only downside is it takes a little bit of effort when we're stressed. And so we have to create some space for that.
Yeah. If there are other physicians listening who are trying to get into leadership or are already in leadership, what are some things that you wish they knew? Is it similar that it's just worth engaging, or is there anything additional that you wish they knew?
Well, I think leadership skills generally, there's so much involved there, but you don't have to know it all. I think a lot of this stuff too, that if we support each other, we can get into the roles, and we can learn as we go. We're doctors. It's see one, do one, teach one. That can apply to how we approach leadership in some ways as well. So by creating a somewhat of a mentorship role, supporting each other, and then creating some of the specific learning that we need. So things like the physician scholarship program that helps fund leadership training for doctors. Excellent idea. Taking people who have an interest, or we talk about a fire in the belly for improving the system, and enabling them and helping them, and getting them what they need to be able to pursue that is important. And that's the things that will sustain our system, not just for a year or two, but for decades to come. And that's where we really need to start working, is in those longer term solutions, getting people engaged, getting them effective, getting them what they need to be able to improve the system.
Yeah, I've seen you do that for, since 2016 to now it's 2024, 8 years. I've seen you kind of facilitate teams to come together for individual physicians to work with patient partners and to work with operational leads in all the different health authorities in British Columbia to kind of puzzle around and work towards improvement in the system. And I've seen so much support happening between colleagues and new relationships and friendships forming in my travels around the province that never potentially would have existed, or would have taken a lot longer to happen, to come into fruition, these relationships of collaboration and support. And yeah, it's so exciting to watch. As you mentioned, there's thousands of people who have been students in the PQI programs, PQI level 1, 2, and 3. I think there's almost nearly 2,000 who have gone through the program. The level 3, which is a significant time investment, over 100 hours per learner invested into practicing and learning team-based systems improvement. There are nearly 800 graduates of the level 3 program with over 100 hours invested.
That's people investing that time while they're still running their practices. That's not an insignificant commitment.
It's a huge commitment, and people are leaning in because it's serving them. I've seen. I really feel that the PQI program that you started is the most effective physician wellness initiative in the history of British Columbia. And I don't know if that was your intention, but that's actually what has happened.
Yeah, it's not a surprise to me, right? It's you know, when you're in a system where you feel you're being bombarded every day, uh, that you try and do things and you get punished for it, you know, curl up into kind of a mental fetal position, and you lose the hope, you lose the enthusiasm that you came with when you went into medical school. And so one of the things that I think we've managed with, uh, well, not just PQI, but with the approach that we take, which is all you know, collaborative, working together, multiple inputs, all of the things that make PQI what it is. That I think gives people hope again. It sparks that uh, medical student enthusiasm, if you like, and it gives them a way forward, and it allows you to uncurl from that fetal position and start to, you know, start to engage again.
You know, 10 years ago when you started, 2014, when you started thinking about PQI, you started collaborating with international improvement advisors. I remember you've connected with people like Don Berwick, Dr. Amar Shah, and Dr. Jan Cornder, the late Dr. Jan Cornder in Surrey. Did you ever think that PQI would become this big?
No, no. To be honest, I I kind of expected the systemic immune response to kick in, because what we're doing is we're really changing culture. We're changing power dynamics in a lot of ways. And one of my fears is that that would eventually create a negative response. And what I've seen, it has not been that. I, you know, what I saw first in the earlier cohorts was that the physicians in the cohorts started to look at their administrative um, counterparts very differently. They started to understand the context that they're working in, the problems that they had. They understand that they didn't have bags of money sitting behind their desk, and they were trying to do you know, more than they could afford with an underfunded budget. So one of the first things I saw was an understanding amongst the physicians on how the administrative side worked a little better. Then what we saw I think, is we saw the administrative side start to recognize the potential value of the approach, of the skills. And we're seeing a lot of PQI grads now going into leadership positions. And that's positions all the way from, you know, still, you know, just above line level, so local department heads, you know, lots there, but all the way through the system into, you know, directors, VP positions. And I think, you know, some of those were probably on that trajectory anyway, but I think a lot of them ended up on that trajectory because they started to understand their ability to make change, and how important it was, and that it was possible.
Yeah, people started to see that change was possible because now there's a framework to actually work along with, and that framework involves significant relational work, collaboration across silos, involvement of patients, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we started first with the, you know, I think the physicians recognizing their counterparts in that relationship. And then as that relationship grew, it became very much more two-way. And we're still on that journey. Right now, what we need is we need more opportunity for the physicians to get in and engage. And we're doing pretty well in the health authorities. It's a little patchy depending on which health authority you're talking about, but we're on a good trajectory there. We don't have a lot of engagement in the ministry, and we need more there. And again, things like the mandate letters come to mind, but there's also, you know, a lot of other things. You know, front and center right now are things like medical manpower. With all of the emerges shutting down, you know, how do we fix those problems? How do we reduce the administrative burden? How do we make sure everyone is operating at their highest level? How do we make sure that health authorities don't mistakenly you know, cut back on support services so that physicians end up doing clerical work? How do we maximize our effectiveness? And I think everyone wants to see that happen, but I don't think everyone understands the interplay between the different parts. One of the things that I saw in the operating room is if you cost out an operating room, it's very expensive. But you're often held back, or at times we're held back because, you know, someone has cut back on cleaning staff. Well, a cleaner for a day costs about 5 minutes worth of OR time. If you can recover 5 minutes worth of OR time by having an additional cleaner, it's worth doing. And so, you know, with our siloed systems, with our systems not understanding how A affects B affects C, we get ourselves into those traps.
Yeah. You know, Curt, you're very your mind is unique. I think you know that, and you have the ability to go into these very deep minutia, and like everything matters to you. You know, you're able to cost out things like these 5 minute pieces in the health system, but you're also able to see at a high systems perspective at a macro scale, which is a very unique skill set that I appreciate in you.
And that's extremely important. So a lot of the examples that I've given really come down to systems thinking. So that last example with with OR cleaner, you're looking at the entire system. You're not just looking at one line item on the budget and trying to optimize that one line item and costing the whole system a lot of money. It's that systems thinking is really, really important.
Yeah, and I think that systems perspective is one of the main things that learners that go through the physician QI program actually get. And I think it turns them into better leaders in our health system.
I think it also
With
turns them into
it's
better physicians, right?
better
Because
better
you know,
physicians, better clinicians.
yeah,
Mhm.
because you know, we need to look at the whole patient. That's, you know, we all know that. But you know, when you're time pressured, you start to focus and you start to lose that that overview. So going back to that systems focus applies clinically as well as administratively.
Yeah, I would agree with that. When I'm in the silo of my clinic, if I've never understood or had relations that cross silos, I just focus on the scarcity of time that I feel, and I limit the quality to what I'm able to do in 5 minutes. But when I know the entire network, when I know the various specialists around me, the allied health, the operational leaders, then all of a sudden my treatment plans become a lot more creative, effective, and adaptive to the real system environment and all the resources. So thank you for that. That is a huge success of PQI. Physicians gaining systems perspectives. There are a lot of other outcomes, such as wellness impact on people who are learning, and probably wellness on the patients. What do you think has been the secret sauce of PQI? To have an initiative go a full 10 years so far, what do you think is the secret sauce of PQI, physician quality improvement?
Collaboration. you know, if I was to pick one thing, that's it. But from that, there's ripples upon ripples in the pond. So with the collaboration, you get the relationship building, you get the understanding of others' perspectives, you get that sharing of perspectives, you get the joint problem solving. You know, everything kind of flows from that collaboration. And that's also consistent with what you were saying a little bit earlier about relationships, because in the end, it really is all about relationships. And so it's the collaboration is the mechanism that we use to start to create and use relationships more.
I spoke about my perspective on the impact of PQI. In your own words, what would you say has been the impact of the Physician Quality Improvement Program in these past 10 years?
I think what we've done in the last 10 years is we've created capacity, and we've created an engaged, energized community. And I think that was very necessary for first steps, but it's not sufficient. As you said, we've got nearly 1,000 level 3 trainees. We need to put them to work. We need to start looking for major impact on the system, because we all see the problems. We've got 1,000 people out there that know how to start to address them. We need to put them to work.
Yeah, so I've been able to witness a lot of physicians come into PQI with a lot of existential pain. You know, I've actually seen multiple times tears flowing down the face of my colleagues, whether they're family doctors or specialists, in these training courses, just because they get to talk about really what really matters to them and express their suffering. And once they've done that, I witnessed a catharsis in them. They let go of some of that pain, and then there's more capacity, some more openness to take on a new way of doing things, and that's often the various tools that you train and facilitate in the science of improvement. And yeah, I do see that capacity come out in these learners.
Well, think back to when you applied for medical school, and so someone asked you, I'm sure, why do you want to be a doctor? And so you had your practiced answer, and it was to help your patients, to help community, things like that. And I think for almost all of us, it was a practiced answer, but it was a real answer. That's why we got into medicine. And then over the years, we kind of get beat down. We end up going from relationship-based care to more transactional care, and that's something that we have to reverse. We have to get back to having relations with our patients and treating people, and stop treating disease. But the time pressures, all of the pressures on us, has over the years focused us so much that we've become transactional. So
Yeah.
I think with the experiences in PQI, a lot of what we've done is we've changed that. We've made it more about relationships. We see the bigger picture because we've pulled ourselves out of that fetal position, and I think we can do that on a larger scale.
Yeah. I actually remember being in my own clinic, being very frustrated with how things were done, and not having the language, not having the tools to actually lead my team to actually brainstorm together. I was under leveraging my team members, including my medical office assistants, on how to solve problems. Even the concept of participative management or facilitating process maps within my clinic. I didn't have any of that, and PQI changed that for me. It empowered me to have that. So
yeah,
very thankful.
There's a tendency to to want to fix problems quickly, and that's part of what happens because of the time pressures and the pressures we have on us, and it's, you talk to government sometimes and they'll say it's all about the money. Well, no, if I don't know how large a panel you have, Lawrence, but there's always 100 or 200 or 300 patients trying to add themselves to that. So it's got to be difficult to say no. When
Yeah.
I was in Port Alberni, we were starting to lose family practice docs. They were leaving the community or retiring, and nobody would come to the community. It's a really nice community. I really like it, but it's not one that's easy to sell. It's out of the way. It's if you like lakes and rivers and ocean and trees, and it's wonderful. But the opera is not there. The symphony's not there. There was a movie theater, but yeah, you didn't get the first runs. So it was hard to bring people in. It was, but the biggest problem was that every practice in town was a solo practice. And so what we did is there's one family doc that was leaving, and we made a deal with him. Give us all the furniture from your clinic. We'll take your charts. You need to do something with them, and we'll start up a community-owned clinic. And so what we did is we went to the city hall, and they gave us a building. It was an old, well, it wasn't that old. It was good. It was a good building, but it was currently unused, and it was the health clinic, and so it was perfect. And so they gave it to us for free. We hired the staff. We got the fax machine. We did all the things we needed to do. And we did it on a budget of exactly zero. And then, and because the community was involved. So the city, obviously, but the community itself was involved. We had directors from the community, and they were engaged. And so it gave us a clinic that we could hire into. It was a multi-practitioner clinic, as opposed to the solos that were largely in town. A lot of the doctors came in and they started there, and then they went and opened their own clinic. So it was a stepping stone for a number of them, but we got them into the community, and they stayed. And so it's for me, it's a really good example of how engaging with your community, getting everyone pulling together, you can pull off a lot of stuff.
It's amazing. It's amazing that you as an anesthetist have started a primary care clinic. You've started a family practice clinic.
I started
That's
a family practice clinic. We had the same issue with internal medicine. We lost our last internist, and so what I did there is, again, we got together a team of people, and we opened a internist clinic. We renovated a part of the hospital, so we put it in the hospital, so they got free rent for quite a while. We hired the MOA. We did the office, and then we had something that we could hire into, rather than just say, come to Port Alberni, and we'll show you where the store is that you buy desks from. Right, that wasn't working. So we went and we fixed what we thought was the biggest barrier, and that internal medicine clinic, that one is physician owned, but it's still operating. My internist sees me for my heart. He works out of that clinic. Perfect.
wow. You know, it's for those listening, it almost sounds like Curt has an idea, then Curt does it, and it happens. But most of the physicians, in my perspective, when they try to innovate, they often come to loggerheads with leadership, either at their facility, if they're hospital based, or in their division of family practice, or when they try to work with ministry. They start to lose hope for improvement. What's your advice to them?
Find common ground. In both those examples with the clinics, common ground is really easy. And then, once you've got that common ground, you get into problem solving and things start to pop up. You put your team together. So Port Alberni it's an old union town, right? It's really a neat culture there, and everyone knows everyone, and everyone knows everyone else's business, and they know who to go and ask for things. So getting the community involved made problems that would be really difficult in the big city really easy, because you're dealing with friends and neighbors.
Yeah,
And
finding common ground.
anyone else that wants to do that, the solutions are going to be different.
Mm.
The specific solutions are going to be different, but the approach is still the same. You find common ground, you find your partners, and you solve problems. If I had to do it alone, I would probably not get very far.
So, for those of physicians who are kind of have some space to put their heads up from the clinical work, what do you feel is the greatest opportunity on the horizon for physicians in British Columbia? What's something that you can see coming up?
Um, I think that's a problem, and it's partly why I'm here. Um, as you said, I see a problem, I try to address it. And the problem is, I think we've done a really good job of teaching people. We've created a pool of people with the capacity to make changes. And there's a lot of other people out there that have the capacity and the skills and the experience to engage. What we're missing is the opportunity. And so what I want to do is engage within the system and try and create those opportunities. If I do win the election, I've got 3 years, president-elect, president, past president. At the end of those 3 years, if people are saying, well, Curt did this, then I failed. If the message is we are now able, moving forward, to do all these things, then I've succeeded.
Wow. So really identifying and kind of connecting talent or with people with those burning desire and some of the skills with the opportunities for improving
And
the system.
that talent is out there, right?
Mm.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's allowing it to engage. It's allowing it to find an audience.
Mm.
That's what we need. Now, Doctors of BC has just done its strategic plan, and a big part of that is physician voice, and that's a lot of what we're talking about. But the physician voice isn't physician singular. It's not someone interpreting the physician voice. It's the physicians having a voice. So it's collectively getting us engaged again in running and improving the system and making the system work better for our patients, which means it works better for us.
When you speak about voice, I'm reminded of the course that you encouraged me to take with the IHI, the QI coaching course. There was a facilitator there named Phyllis Virgil, and she taught facilitation techniques on how to ensure that voices at a particular table were actually heard and that people felt heard, and there was adequate sharing of space. And I've seen you do that as well at various tables, that facilitation. Another course you had recommended I take, and I did this with Dr. Rebecca Adams. It was the Access and Flow course from the Institute of Healthcare Improvement, and they said that one of our best levers in addressing access and flow in facilities was really shaping demand for emergency room services. What might shaping demand mean to you?
So we've seen a lot of problems with emergency closures. We've seen huge problems with physician burnout. Nursing's not faring any better. The emerges are in a lot of ways they're the canary in the coal mine. So all of the shortfallings of our system tends to dump the load on the emerge. So if you can't, if you don't have a family doctor that'll renew your prescriptions, where do you go? You go to the emerge. If if you've got a sniffle and you're worried about it, where do you go? Well, if you can't go to the family doctor, if you don't have one, you go to the emerge. If you don't have enough beds in the hospital, what happens? It backs up into the emerge. So the emerge is really that canary in the coal mine. So when you look at shaping demand, there's two things that I think of. One is getting rid of it, right? So making sure that family physicians are there. That I would really like to see a different business model around family physicians and nurse practitioners, so that they can work together more than in competition with each other. I would like to see doctors have more latitude in how they can do their work without having to answer to MSP for some arcane rules that they have. So getting the workload out of the emerge into more appropriate spaces is one way. So that's kind of a step back in time to when we had an adequately resourced system. But there's other people out there that can help us. I think paramedics, particularly rural paramedics, are a very underused resource. They know who in their community is at risk, and we should be using them to do home visits, to check up on people. And there is a program in some places where they do that. But if we did that more systematically, I wonder, can we reduce the load on the emerge and make the visits more appropriate?
I
The
think
other
you have a
side
great. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
is if we we need to get people through the emerge, so we need to make sure that that we have the proper imaging, that we have the proper diagnostics, that we have a way to move people from hospital A to hospital B if we need to. But better yet, if we can support the patient in hospital A so they don't have to move, that would be way better. There was a project out of New Mexico called Project Echo that I really liked. And what it was is it was enabling the rural or the suburban physicians by giving them good access to what looked a lot like teaching rounds, but it was focused on their patient. And the focus was to help them deal with the immediate problems with their patients, but also teach them, from a specialist perspective, what's coming next, how to manage their patient optimally, how to basically empower them to give better care for this specific patient or this specific problem. Yeah, and that can help keep people out of the emerge. So
I would, yeah.
there's a
Go
lot of
ahead.
things there that you can use to shape that demand and increase flow.
I would agree with you. There's so much untapped resources. A lot of people with skills that we're just not leveraging upstream to take care of people. So, and people just keep thinking, oh, where do I go? It's got to be the ER because I can't get anywhere else. But there's definitely a lot of opportunity. There's an abundance of people willing and able to help. We just have to find the policy and find the collaboration,
And remember,
facilitation that works.
this is a family doc talking to an anesthesiologist. Imagine if we actually talked to an emerge doc, if we talked to the paramedics, if we talked to home nursing, if we took all of these people and got them together and said, what can we do to make this work? And it, what does an anesthesiologist know? I can put you to sleep. I can wake you up.
Yeah, I'm excited to see some of those talks happen and us to make a dent in this. Yeah. What is a common misrepresentation of yourself that you've become aware of that has maybe happened once or maybe even more than once at the various healthcare related meetings that you attend? Like, is there something that people misunderstand about you?
Well, I tend to it's like the elephant, right? Uh, people who know me from PQI see me through the PQI lens. People in Port Alberni, for those that remember me anyway, see me through that lens. People, you know, I'm old enough and I've done enough things that I have trouble. I've trouble explaining the just the range of things that I've gotten into over the years. In addition to anesthesia, I was a paramedic for 14 years. I was a consultant with BC Ambulance. I taught Sartex out of Comox. Right now, I'm a Canadian Ranger, the Army Reserve. I'm I teach a variety of sports. I'm vice president of ISPARC, which is the Aboriginal sport organization for BC. People see one face of me and assume that's me. But there's I pull things from all over in order to do what I do. My careers I've had, I started as a marine biologist. I've got a master's in computer science. I worked as in operations research department, and all of those things come into play when I start doing this work, and all of those perspectives come into play. So for each of us, we don't just bring one perspective. Lawrence is not just a family doctor. Lawrence is a father. Lawrence is so many other things that we tend to see people just in a single context, and that's not just me, but it's very common. So when we get and start to develop those relationships, we start to see through that a little bit, but it still tends to be a flat view.
I'm wondering if anybody's ever said, Curt, there's just that old white man with a beard telling me how to do my job. Do you ever get that perspective? Or has anybody ever expressed that to you?
Yeah. So that's, that's profiling, right? And we all do it for better or for worse. But again, that's that flat perspective. So, old white dude, right? So, cancel me. But no, I'm actually I'm Métis. I'm captain of the hunt for Vancouver Island. So that's one of, I think there's seven of us now.
What does that mean? What's captain of the
We're
hunt?
well, we're traditional knowledge keepers um, uh, for for hunting, fishing, outdoor skills, bushcraft. Um, I'm a I'm one of very few Métis trappers that are left in the province. My trap line is up around Banfield. Um, I teach uh, I teach Aboriginal youth, both First Nations and Métis, shooting, archery. I'm a core instructor for hunting. I'm a PAL instructor, our PAL instructor for firearms safety. Uh, and so I bring that knowledge and the bushcraft back into our communities, reteach our kids. So Métis kids tend to be more urban, but I also teach the First Nations kids where I have a chance, and it's the same skills. It comes from the same place, and whether it's being taught by Métis to First Nations or First Nations to Métis, it doesn't matter. We're all related.
Mm.
So that that's a big part of my life as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think most people know that you're Métis and master of the hunt, bushcraft. That
captain, captain,
sounds
captain of that. Yeah,
okay. Captain of the
that's
hunt.
yeah, that's a historical reference to the buffalo hunt that Métis used to do.
Buffalo hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
we're
I
not
under
doing we're not doing so much of that in BC.
no,
Yeah.
I understand that you actually coached archery for some summer games. Is that right?
Well, I'm coaching chair for BC Archery. I'm on the Archery Canada coaching committee. I did develop the community coaching modules that are just coming into play for archery in Canada. Um, the For the NAG games, I was actually head coach for shooting, so rifle shooting.
Neg games again. What's neg games?
North American Indigenous Games.
Okay.
And
Mm.
so there, I'm president of BC Target Sports, which is the Olympic uh, Olympic shooting organization for BC. And so we teach rifle, pistol. We're trying to help the shotgun folks organize a little bit with us. So, but that's all the Olympic stream. Um, we've got some very, very good national and international competitors that work through the organization. Um, I'm a coach. I'm president of the organization, and we bring that back into the communities as well.
Mm. Well, Curt, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me today. I'm excited about everything that's going to happen and everything that has happened with your leadership in our province. Is there anything else you'd like to add for the listeners today?
Um, I think the big thing is if if you see a problem out there and you have an idea, don't hold back. If you know how to fix something and you don't say anything, that's on you.
Mm.
If you take it forward and uh, you try and tell someone how to fix a problem, what needs to happen, and they ignore you, that's on them. So take that high road, get engaged, and try and make things happen. And there's lots of us that would love to help you. So, as president of Doctors of BC, if I do win that election, I'm all about that. But there's lots of other folks out there too. A lot of them have drifted into PQI because that's the focus of that part of the organization. So engage.
Yes. Yeah, that's what you've modeled for me, ever since I've known you, engaging, courage, resilience, persistence, hope for a better future, really, and really flattening of that hierarchy. You're a fantastic disruptor, and I really admire you as a mentor, and I want to thank you for everything that you've done.
But thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Curt.